Okay. Audio good? Oh, I don't believe it. It's good. Excellent. No tags. Okay. Let's go here. Oh dear, I wish I could learn to spell, hey? Preparation for our big stream next week. Right, let's go to here. YouTube Studio. Content. Let's go with that. We'll copy that. Why doesn't this come up in the prefix? Yep. Now let's go to the yep. Copy tags, bring that in here. It's not entertainment, it's sports. Paste. Right. Here we go, there, save. Customization, no slow mode. Right. Manzi, how are you, bud? Good, mate. I'm just checking everything. Just getting everything ready. All right, just double checking that. So at the moment, excellent. All right, this is good, Manzi. How are you, bud? What's going on? Let's get rid of this. Oh dear. Now, all the noise is going to start after lunch. Let's chuck that in there. Chuck that in there. Like that. Put this in here now. Like so. Come on, get out of there. Great. There we are. That can come in here. All right. We are cooking with gas. Pardon the pun. All right, let's go with that. Let's go with that. That needs to charge like that. Okay, let's bring up chat. Do believe I think we're organised, Manti. Lovely. The clarity of the picture and content on YouTube is so much better than the other platform. That's why I like doing the fly tying on here. Just wait for this to come up. Oh, lovely. Yeah, but, you know, that's got its runs on the board, Manti, so that's never going to die. But, you know, there is a lot of decision making that's being done that's not really practical. So, you know, they just, I don't know what the story is, but they just, you know, it's not really smart business sense. Okay, let's leave that there. Come on. Let's get rid of that. Tablet is starting. We're good to go. Come on. This here would be nice. Okay, YouTube. There we are. Live stream, excellent. Boom, there we are. Welcome. Oh dear. Oh, well, who would have thought that at this stage we would have had 3,890 subscribers, eh? Thanks everyone. Alrighty, so this is what we're going to do today. Today we're going to be doing some fly tying. So when we go up north, we're going to be fishing with our fly tying gear. What I'm doing is I'm just copying little bait fish that are going to match the waterway that we're in. Right, and what we're going to do is we're just going to cast around these flies and see what we can basically get. So nothing too spectacular about that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zoom in on here, which is the teeth of the vise, and then what we're going to do is we're going to be just tying some flies, interacting with the community, and away we go. So let me zoom in now. Boy, do I need a haircut. All right, lovely. So let's get this done. Let's zoom in a little bit more, like that. That's going to make up most of the screen, which is what we want. You're going to focus in on that. Excellent. So what it's doing is it's focusing in on that back wall, but that's okay. We'll sort that out in a second. All right. Now just excuse me for a second. Let's share this. Twitter. Excuse me for a second, I think I just hear someone. Okay, all right. Now let's see if that zooms in on the vise. I might have to zoom out a bit. Excellent. So is that going to zoom in now? That's probably not going to do me any favours. Okay, lovely. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue tying a couple more of these clouse minnows from last night. These are a fly that is virtually snag proof. They retrieve in the water with the hook facing up. Okay, so very basic patterns. Last thing you want to do is just overcomplicate things, because that makes it difficult, you know what I mean? And I just stick to basics with fly tying. So I don't like to make things too complicated. What we like to do is we just like to keep them fairly simple. What's the old KISS method? Keep it simple, stupid, or whatever. Right. Right, so what I've done there is I've done a little bit of thread, okay? And with that little bit of thread, what I'm doing is I've just put a little bit of super glue. The super glue will not affect the fly in any way in terms of odour. What it does is when you're trying to glue a dumbbell eye to a hook, it's very hard to do it like metal on metal. So you do the base of thread, right? And then what happens with that is you just attach it. So we do a little crisscross pattern like that. All right, we'll just bring that back a bit. And then what we do at the end is, once we've got enough thread in there, what I'm going to do is start at the back of the fly and work towards the eyes to lock them in. Right, whoops, that's probably enough there now. Then go across, work my way to the eye of the fly there, then work my way back. And then what I'm doing is I'm locking in all those threads at the front. Go about 1/3 of the distance away from the eye, then come in 2/3 of the distance away from the eye. And what I've effectively done... Hey there, Loveland Co. How are you, bud? Welcome to the stream. So what I've done there, okay, is I've virtually locked those eyes in on the hook shank. And what I've already done is I've started the taper of the head, which will make it easier for us when we're putting on the other stuff. Now with this, like I said, I keep my saltwater flies very simple. I started off freshwater fly tying, and with freshwater fly tying, that's very intricate. If you do 2 or 3 turns too much on a freshwater fly, it will completely throw your fly out of whack, okay? So what we do now is we just turn that over, and as you can see, I've got the eyes perpendicular to the hook there, right? And they're not going to go anywhere. What I like to do when I tie the flies, especially saltwater flies, I like to put the fly at a bit of an angle, like that, right? I'm just hoping that'll still hold it in the line of vision. We might have to drop that down a bit, hang on. I didn't take that into consideration. So excuse me for a second. There we are, lovely. All right, that's a better angle. Okay, and it's actually focusing on the fly, which is good. Now that's the very slight movement from the tripod there with the special camera that we're using. Excuse me for a second. Let's do that again. Boom, lovely. Excellent. We'll do that. All right. Beautiful. Look how clear that is. Sensational. Right, now that we've given that head cement a little bit of time to settle, what I want to do, right, is the fish that we're going to imitate with this is the mullet, okay? So with the mullet, basically, they're an estuarine fish. We're going to be chasing the, well, we're not going to be chasing, but we're going to be chasing to imitate the juveniles that come into the estuarine rivers to, you know, spawn and get big enough to go back out in the ocean. So what I'm going to do here is this is just carpet offcuts, right? Which is just fantastic, right? And what we're going to do is we're just going to cut a couple of lengths, right? Like so, okay, like that. What I'm doing here is I want to get most of the smaller fibres out. So what I'm doing is, this is called dressing your materials. So what I'm doing is I've held on to the fibres that I want, which is a certain length here, like that, boom. And then what I do is I just tease this in the opposite direction, and all the stuff that's too short, like this, right, which is the stuff that's the material that's attached to the base of the carpet. I don't know why you'd have white carpet anyway, you know what I mean? It'd be the hardest thing to keep clean. Okay, boom. Then what we're going to do is, this is just purely designed to put a bit of body into the fly. Mullet are a much lighter colour underneath than what they are on top. And what I want to do is, I want to just make this head on this fly. When I say head of the fly, basically all this area between the eyes of the fly and the eye of the hook, that's the head area there, okay? So what this does is this gives it a little bit of mass underneath the fly, and with that mass comes movement, right? It might look like fins and that sort of stuff, and it just makes it look a little bit more natural, because what we've got here is we've got an artificially made material that's trying to look reasonably natural, okay? Now, what I've got here, this is super hair, okay? So with the super hair, what we've got is we've got two different colours. We've got the white super hair and the grey. Me personally, the basics of fly tying in salt water, right? Always focus with an eye. The top of the fly is always darker than the bottom of the fly if you're doing a bait fish impersonation. And then on top of that bait fish impersonation, you usually have a shiny material like this crystal flash in between the two different materials so that it signifies a lateral line. So, first things first, what I want to do is, now this material here is an artificial material, right? So even though it's called super hair, it's made type of polypropylene, I guess. I don't know the exact science of it. And what I've done here, see the shape of this head that I've cut? With the way that I've cut this material here, that's going to form the shape of the head, see? So I can sit there now and actually trap all that material on the hook. I'm going to separate it either side of the head, beautiful. I'm just going to move a few of the fibres out to make way for the material at the front. Now at the front here, what I've got is, I've got a little bit of a dip at the front. What we're trying to do here is you're trying to encourage water to flow over the fly in a certain direction, okay? So if I wanted this fly to have a lot more action, I'd put the eyes closer to the hook. If I wanted less action and a more of a deep sweeping wiggle, I could put the eyes at the back of the hook. Okay, so it just depends on your imagination and how far you want to go with it, right? And tying it at this angle does always make it a little bit easier to tie these saltwater flies. Now this fly pattern is called a Klaus minnow. There's lots of variations of these, okay? And with these variations, they're just copies of the original pattern that was developed by Bob Klauser. You've got to give credit where it's due. He was the first person to put the eyes on the hook to flip the hook up, right? So kudos to Bob. I've got him on my Facebook. Lovely fella to chat with, very knowledgeable, and a true gentleman, you know. There aren't too many of those left in the world. Now, what we're going to do here now is, when you're trying to go quick with your fly tying, you always try and keep your bobbin as close to the material and the hook as possible without actually touching the head cement, because what you do is you'll clog your bobbin up. Right, now what I like to do when I tie my Klaus minnows, just from experience, I like to really build the heads up. I just find it tracks better, you know, swims better in the water, everything. Okay, and now what we've got here, all right, is we've got the little bit of body underneath that we did, right? That'll reflect through they call it whitefish hair, but it's transparent. You've got to remember this fly goes completely translucent when it gets wet. So if you have a look at the head on this fly, see when I hit it with the head cement, it virtually goes transparent. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to finish up with this grey material. Okay, this is just the colour that matches the mullet that we're chasing in the rivers. And you know, this isn't one of those super fancy flies that, you know, that lifelike it takes someone 1,000 hours to tie. We don't do that, okay? So we just work off the principle, as I said. Oh, lovely. Now, if I can get this to grip, okay, that's actually not a bad little oh, don't do that, come on, just work with me here. There we go, lovely. Right, so I just want to get that little gap in there sorted. No, I don't need to go back to there. It's just not complicated. Okay, so what I have now is I have a large segment between the eye of the fly and the eye of the hook. Right, there we are. Ta-da. So what you see there is that's basically the finished fly, but what we're going to do is we're just going to give it a coating of head cement. When you put it on an angle like this, all you really need to do is get your head cement on the top of the fly and see gravity does you a favour and drags it down. Just got to be careful. You don't want to fill the eye of the hook. That's too heavy a gauge for that. What have I got? I can clean that. Another hook, I'm guessing. Let's have a look. Okay. There we are, lovely. So there we go. There you have it. Okay. So that's basically just a little potty mullet Klaus minnow. So what we've got, as I said, is we've got the little bit of a filler with a carpet on the bottom. Then we've got the white super hair, the rainbow crystal flash, and we've got the grey super hair. Lefty Cray, who's, you know, one of the most famous fly fishers of all time, uses a lot of tan in his flies. So that works out really well. Just excuse me for a second. I'm just going to go and just open some doors to get some ventilation in here. Whew. Right, there we are. It's probably going to be quite cold now, but that's how the cookie crumbles, doesn't it? Let me just open up another window. I'll get to those in a minute. Ah, great. Excellent. Okay, so now what we do is we're just going to repeat what we did the first time. Okay, now my eyes are starting to get old, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wind my thread on here. I'm going to put a little bit of a backing by turning this carpet upside down. Right, there we are, lovely. Okay, just going to do a little half hitch in there. That'll lock the thread in place. And look, thank you very much to the 7 people that are watching. Please don't be shy. Click on that like button, as it gives YouTube the message that we're doing something and people are engaging in the stream. This is our second YouTube stream back after a break, so we are going to be doing a lot more content on YouTube, and we're just starting out again, you know. What I'll do is I'll show you the difference in the colours too. We might see if we can mix some grey and green together to see if we can get that little mottled pattern, okay? So let's just get another iron. So what this does, this is this Loctite gel, right, like that, beautiful. That's the thing, when you don't tie flies for a while, you sort of take a little while to get back into the groove again. But then once you're back in the groove, it's like second nature, you know. So good work. Loveland Co, how are you, mate? How have you been? Good? What we're going to do is just tie this off at the head, like so. Whoops. Beautiful. There we are. Excellent. So what's happened is now that's all sealed in. Okay. Got a beautiful cross breeze now, so I'm not inhaling Mrs. Eileen. Hey Pub Test, how are you, bud? We did a stream last night as well, mate, but you're probably sleeping. How you going over there, Pub Test? Is it still raining cats and dogs? Yeah, they don't let you stay up that late at the old people's home, do they, Pubby? Right, now. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we are going to mix this up a little bit. Whereas before I did the carpet, which I'll probably still do again. Okay, not much rain, just cold. Yeah, it's that bitey cold. Ooh, that bitey cold. Now, good. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just get a little bit more of this carpet offcut. Okay. There we are. Nice. Once again, I'm just going to remove all the smaller fibres that I don't need in here. Okay. Great, so what I've done is I've pinched the fibres here and kept all the longer fibres, and I've just removed all the shorter fibres out of here. What I'm going to do now is, and if you're fly tying yourself, you always try and put the groove of the hook in between your two fingers here. So when you cut your material, you always cut it at an angle so that your fingers can rest on the hook, see? So that first one's just lobbed it in on top of the hook shank. Just going to wind this down towards the eye, and that's probably the best one that I've done since I've been tying last night. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. So that's all good to go. Lovely. Now with me, because I'm tying flies myself that I want to use to catch fish, every time I tie a fly, what I do, okay, is I use head cement. Right, now what we're going to do is this. On the next one, I'm going to show you a variation of materials that sort of makes the fly come alive. Okay, so what we want to do is we just want to make that a little bit more uneven on the ends there, okay, like so. And the good thing about artificial materials is they usually always are usable, unlike the natural stuff, which you've got to dress and like take the excess off. So what I'm going to do is, see how I'm just splaying that either side of the hook like a trumpet, right? There we go, that's going to now wrap in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this a little bit of support at the front where the eye is and make it roughly the same height as the bottom of the taper there. And then what I'm going to do is, as you can see, I'm keeping the head of the bobbin about 1/2 inch off the material. Okay, Whoompa, there we go. And again, like that. Right, and what we have now is we have the bottom material tied in. We've got it evenly spaced either side of the hook. Now what I can do, excuse me for a second. Right, now what we do here is, remember what I said, the bottom of the fly is usually lighter than the top of the fly, and then we have some crystal flash. Lovely. Okay, this is going to be basically the lateral line of the fish. Okay, there we are. So what we've done there now is, okay, we've managed to organise that. So now what we do is we put on the top wing of the fly, right, like so. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure this out. So that's going to have to go there, like that. Good. Right, bring that through here like so. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, okay, is bring that through here like so. I'm just going to pull a little bit of that fibre out. Now when you first start tying, right, your first threads aren't too tight, they're actually quite gentle, but then as you put more thread on there, you slowly increase the tension of the thread, and what that does is that just locks everything into place. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm just going to have to taper from the eye back to the start of the material here, and then eventually what will happen is, with all the thread that we're using, right, eventually you'll just be able to cruise up over it like that, and it'll just look fairly natural, see? So with this here, what I've done is that I've put a slightly curved head on there, like that. Okay, and that's going to have quite a good action in the water. Whenever your fish flies in salt water, always use a loop, right? Just always use a loop. It'll give more action to the fly, and the bottom line is you'll just catch more fish. Okay, and as you can see, nice little looking saltwater fly. Hopefully the fish think the same when we've got it in the water, because you've got to remember with this fly too, this will go translucent in the water, much like the little mullet that are in the waterway that we're going to be fishing, and you'll find that out next week. Right, da-da-da. Rightio, let's just give that a chance to sink in. Right, excellent. Look at that. What we'll do is we'll just give that a little minute to dry off. And as you can see, what we have is we have the grey material on top, the white super hair on the bottom with the carpet just to give it a bit of body. You can clearly see the lateral line in there in the form of the rainbow crystal flash. Right, and yeah, that's not a bad little fly. I mean, it's got a few little buggy bits to it, but that's all right. That's how it goes to make it look as natural as possible, you know. Right, there we go. So that's one's done. And I tell you what, having a little rotary vise is an absolute godsend, people. Now for next week, what I think I'm going to need to do is I want to give it about 20 of these flies tied. I know that these flies mimic the fish that are in the waterway. Right. So with these fish that are in the waterway, what this is going to do, in freshwater fishing they call it match the hatch. What you're basically trying to do is you're trying to get your saltwater fly that you're tying to be as close to the colours and the construction of the lifelike fish that you're trying to copy. In freshwater fishing they call it match the hatch. Right. There we are, like that. Beauty. Oops, get out of there. Lovely. And once you figure out how to do your fly tying, it's just a question of repeat, you know. Just makes it enjoyable. One of the, I mean, in the old days, the penultimate of your fly tying was, you know, just catching a brown trout on a dry fly if you're in freshwater. And then once you do it, you know, the first time, it's basically any fish that you catch on a fly that you've tied, you know. Deadless Pig 7, how are you, bud? Welcome to the stream, mate. How's life treating you, buddy? What are you up to? Oh, from memory, you're in Mod City, aren't you, Deadless? So what we're going to do is now we're just going to wind the head on, like so. Bring this back, like so. There we are. Oh, Mr. Piggies, hello, bud. How are you, mate? Sorry, I got your I got your username mixed up. Sorry, mate. How you going? Good. We're just continuing. We're just continuing these little clouser minnows that we were tying last night. I've got 6 of them tied. I want to get 8 tied, and then just work from there. So we're starting our live streaming journey on YouTube again. So good fun. The picture. Oh, now see that there? That's going to create a headache because that's going to clog up the arm. Yeah, I've been up. What time is it now? It's 9:38. I've already been up for 4 hours. So now, chuck that in there. Bring this across like so. We've got a big stream next week, Mr. Piggies. We're heading up north, so what we're doing is we're just getting all the flies ready now. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, right, is I'm actually going to change the composition a bit. Sometimes when you go fishing away up north and that sort of stuff, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where's the 6th one? Don't be deceived, this is not a mess. This is a highly organised inventory system. So, which is another way of saying it's an organised mess. Right, and let's have a look here. Okay. All right. What we're going to do now, right, is we're going to mix this up a little bit. So what I've got here is I've got some pearl flashabou, right, in a hank. Now with this pearl flashabou, yeah, that's good. So what this is going to do is, you know how we were using the carpet, right? We're going to put the carpet away. What I want to do is I just want to give this a little bit of a shine. Sometimes early in the morning or late in the afternoon, right, you'll get a situation where you have a little bit of that low lying sun in the afternoon just before it drops between the structure and that sort of stuff. Where we're going doesn't have too many trees. And what this allows you to do, right, this allows you to put a bit of shiny material on it, so it just gives it a little bit more flash. Because you know how when you see bait fish move in the water, you'll see them shimmy left and right, and then what happens is you'll see their little flashes and that sort of stuff. That's what this is designed to mimic. Okay? There we are. And the only thing is, with this fly now, because we've got so much artificial material on here, there won't be any scent from the fly or too much action from it. So basically what the fish will do is they'll use their sight to get attracted to the fly, and then what happens is, you move the little fly through the water, you trigger off. This is 210 denier flat wax nylon from Danville's, mate. Really good product that's been around since Adam and Eve went to school together. Right. Thanks very much for the support, everyone. I honestly didn't think we'd even get to double figures on our YouTube stream. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to put that little bit of flash in there. Now see how that straight away, right, sort of mixes it up a bit, right? So there, bring that in here like so. What I'm going to do now is, okay, I'm just going to cut this at the angle that I want the head to go on, which we've got. Just trap that either way there. Nice. I'll just give that a little bit in there. I've actually put this right to the eye of the hook. Right, I just want to get this even. Okay, nicely done. Now look, to be quite deadless, you could. The only problem is, but you'd have to be sort of careful on how you'd wrap it on the hook. I'm actually just trying to keep it like this just to differentiate the sections of the fly. And all this is going to do is in your lower light situations, sometimes fish will see the shimmy from the pearl flash and that sort of stuff, and they don't even think twice. They'll just line it up and then it's just whoompa, you know. So that's all we're trying to do, mate. We're trying to make this as enticing for them as possible. So let's get this out here. Right. Bump. Like so. Now, I'm going to do that a little bit later on a different pattern, Deathless Pig. I said that before. I'm going to put a bit of grey and a bit of green together just to make it look a bit more mottled. I'll show you that. Now what I'm going to do is, on this one here, right, I want to actually make a fairly high head on this. Hey there, Witty, how are you, bud? That's with xylene, mate. So all you do is you get a waterproof glue. You make the waterproof glue between 5 and 7% of the volume. And then what you do, Witty, is you fill it up with xylene and you shake it around. These are little $2 jars from Spotlight. You just put a stainless steel stem through it that goes to the bottom of the jar like that. And then that's how you put your head cement on. I made this live on stream 3 years ago. And when we figured it out, with your head cement being $15 to $20 a jar, with the volume that's in here, there's about 10 bottles of head cement. The funny thing is, when I first did it, I made 2 of them, and I still haven't gone through this one yet. So when you make it yourself, none of our flies are falling apart or anything like that. So it's good. It's a good product, you know. So this is the grey that's going to go on top now. All right. Once again, with the artificial materials, because they're made in a factory. Boom, there we go. This is probably quite heavily dressed for a saltwater fly, but where we're going, you know, you don't know what you're going to get, and they are quite toothy, right? So you need to make sure that you've got an abundance of material, because when they finish destroying it, right, they always go back for more. And if you've got a fly that's dressed too light, right, it just falls apart quite quick. Right, bring that up in here now. Right. Okay, so what we've got here, okay, normally with your a lot of the you know, Klaus and minnow heads are usually quite small and compact. I like to make them a little bit larger. It just gives it a bit more movement in the water and a little bit more weight. So there we go. How's your day been, Witty? Good? Hey, welcome, mate. Thanks for coming in to watch the stream. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to really lock that head in now, okay? So as you can see, what we have here is a very slim profile, very shiny little fly that's going to look like a mullet. What I'll do, let's dry this in the vise here, and then what we'll do is I will do a printout of the mullet we're trying to copy. Deadless pig, it doesn't really matter, bud. Where this is going to be coming in on the bottom is, you know, fairly murky anyway. I've caught lots of brim, which are very finicky fish, on these hooks. The hooks that I'm using, right, are very high quality hooks. They're the Kamasan B940s. They're made in Japan, okay, and they're a beautiful hook. Now, a lot of people go, oh yeah, but they're a freshwater hook. I know that, but because they are such a good quality hook and they have got a fantastic like hook set, right, that's basically how it comes into fruition. So I don't really think the fish care, mate, you know, and that's going to look quite good. But that hook point there is razor sharp, chemically sharpened. Daz Dan, how are you, bud? Welcome to the stream, mate. How are you today? Yeah, quite a nice looking little fly. Now hang on a second. Let me just sort this out. Oh yeah, well that's it, isn't it? The good thing about this is where that where the hook is, it'll either be in the roof of the mouth of the fish, which makes it really easy to take out, but normally it's in the corner, because as they bite it, you strike and it pulls it in horizontally, and half the time it, you know, let's have a look. So just excuse me for a second. Let's just print that. How are you, Dan? You well? So I'll show you what we're trying to copy today, people. And look, crew, I'm sorry to harp on about this, but if you could just click that like button if you like the content, okay? And then that way it just lets YouTube know that we're doing stuff. So this is what we're trying to copy, okay? So this is basically what we're trying to copy, okay? That's it there. No, this is not a jig, mate. This is a saltwater fly. Okay, so notice how we've got the same eye profile. It's got a yellow eye with the black pupil right there. Right, and then what we've got is, we've got the nice shiny colours and all that sort of stuff. And then that way it's just going to match it up so that it looks very, very similar to what we're trying to chase here, okay? Like that. That's what we're trying to copy there. So that's not too bad. When they're smaller, they're not as like defined. They're just usually much smaller and like flatter like that virtually. So that's what we're trying to achieve with that, okay? Just excuse me for a second. Not really, mate. This has got a pinkish tinge to it here. Probably doesn't look it okay with the pearl, but that's got a little bit of a pinkish tinge to it in here from this side, right? So, I mean, you just want it to basically, you know, flash and attract them. So what we'll do is we'll do one more of these, right? And then away we go. Okay. So this will be our last one. And what we'll be doing, people, on Saturday, we'll be streaming to both Twitch and YouTube, obviously not at the same time. Right, so with that, we're doing a lot of streams. Great. Now, yes, the Nippy's iced coffee, mate. Good work. I only have a small one. Yes, bud, Nippy's iced coffee. They're only 250 ml, so they don't hurt you as much as the big ones, you know. Right, so what I'm doing here is, while I'm tying, I've got my thumb on the spool regulating the tension. Yeah, why not? 2 essential food groups, caffeine and fat. Hey, puppy, how does the stream look? Is it nice and clear, mate? Is the audio good and crisp? Yeah, I just wanted to do a couple of tests on YouTube before we go away on the weekend, pub. Right. So, a little bit of super glue. What we'll do is we'll just get the eyes in. So once we've locked the eyes in, I've got no interest in gaming at all, Deathless Pig. I did a little bit of like PUBG and that sort of stuff, but then once the IRL season started and work got busy, mate, I don't have the time for it anymore, bud. I don't find any games on any market or platform that are realistic enough to be of interest anyway. And I know in the old days, the graphics weren't the best on the games. At least they were honest though, you know. And when you told the computer to do something, it did it, you know what I mean? I wouldn't even know what Diablo 4 is, Deathless Pig. I mean, if you've got a lot of time on your hands, of course you can do that, you know. But I mean, like next week, we leave Saturday morning, 4 AM. To go on this trip up north. We've got so much content planned over the next week. We want to get at least, I would say, we're working off 12 hours a day. So by the time Friday comes around, we want to have at least 60 hours of footage, you know what I mean? And just make the most of our time. And then the good thing about that is it provides content for the community, okay? And, you know, we just get it all out there. So, all right, so once again, I like to just put the fly at an angle, the hook at an angle when I'm tying the wings on there, right? So what we'll do is we want to make this a sight fish, obviously with the fact that it's not made from any natural materials. These are artificial materials, so they will wear a lot better than the natural materials, okay? They just won't have as much action in the water. Okay, let's get that in there. Now that noise that you hear is the noise of the flat wax nylon going through the bobbin holder, okay? And what that does is I'm just maintaining the tension on it so it grips the material. So what we've done now, okay, this is our base. That's going to be the abdomen of the fly, and what that's going to do is this is going to provide a little bit of flash and that sort of stuff. The other thing is too, you know, if you've got this near structure and the structure's a certain colour with the light refraction in the water, that usually goes a similar colour to the structure near it. So I mean, there is that age-old debate about, you know, that age-old debate about do fish see colour. Me personally, I don't care. I think they do, like everything in life. Okay, so that's why we do this as we do it. So now what I'm going to do is bring that down around here, get that in around the eye. All right, going to halve the material either side of the hook point and bend there. Da, 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 beautiful. Okay, and we should have enough material here to get that sorted. Let's have a look. That's exactly right, Deathless Pig, you know, and this is the headache bud, you know what I mean? There's so many people out there that try and put their stamp on fishing, okay? So, I mean, look, knowledge has been around before us. It'll be here, you know, while we're here, and it'll still be here once we're gone, you know? So that's how it normally sort of goes down, if you know what I mean. So there we are. Just going to bring that in now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lock in this rainbow crystal flash either side of the hook and then lock it in on top. Beautiful. So what we've got now is we've got the pearl mylar, right? We have the underwing, okay, which is merging with the mylar anyway. Then what we have is we have the head cement now going off, and now what we'll do is we'll finish this fly with a little bit of grey material on top just to copy the mullet, you know. And remember how flies look in the on the vise is totally different to how they look in the water. In the water this will go translucent and it will literally come alive, okay. So now what we do is that. No, not really, mate, because you won't be able to tie behind the eyes. You can do streamline looks, but on different fly patterns. I'm going to do a few other fly patterns a bit later. So what this does is, this is designed so that Bob Clouser invented this fly. You've got to give credit to the original, you know, like designers of the method. I mean, you've got Popovich, you know, flies. They're a certain style. Lefty Cray's got his own mark on fly fishing, you know, Crazy Charlie's and that sort of stuff. So all good, you know what I mean? And these guys are pioneers of fly fishing, so you've got to give them credit because there's so many people around that are just trying to, you know, rip off ideas, which seems to be the way of the world nowadays. I don't know how they get away with it, but anyway, there we are. All right. Beautiful. Dennis Redder, how are you, mate? Welcome to the stream, bud. thanks very much for giving up your time to watch the stream. Yeah, you just got to keep it real, Dennis, you know. That's basically what it comes down to, if you know what I mean. I always like to keep things real, mate. I'll give you a couple of little pointers. If you want to save your time, like tying flies and that sort of stuff, right? Buy the eyes that are already painted and set on the hooks, okay? And what that does, it just saves you all the, because sometimes when you paint eyes on, it'll take nearly the same amount of time as it takes to, you know, tie the fly. So for me, this is a beautiful little fly, okay? Basically what we've got here, all right, is we've got the little finished product. I don't need to do anything else to that. I mean, if you want to get really trendy, you can put your little grey, you know, nail polish and all that sort of stuff on there, but that's fine. I mean, if you have a look at this fly, like I said, all we're trying to do is just copy that. That's it. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to copy that. But this is a mature version of what we're tying here. We're trying to tie this to, you know, imitate the juveniles. So when they're juvenile, they're not as defined in shape. See how we've got the yellow, backing behind the black pupil on the eye. Great. We've got silvers, greys, rainbow flash, and all the rest of it. Now see, the most important thing is see how this fin here is a light translucent colour compared to the other fins. That's why we put the little bit of pearl down the bottom, right? And away we go, okay? So little things like that tend to make the difference. And as I've said, there are some absolutely amazing fly ties out there that create art, okay? I don't create art. I've never been that good, okay? All I do is I tie fishing flies. So the flies that I tie catch fish, you know. And the other thing is, just to give you an idea, so what we did last night is we did a few of these flies. So, you know, this is why we stream. We like to bring our community together with our content. Hey, thanks, Detless Pig. The thing is, mate, as they always say, the proof's in the pudding. You know, the stuff that you tie yourself is always going to be higher quality than the stuff that you buy that's mass produced. But this is what we've tied last night and this morning so far. So I've got 8 beautiful little flies here, like that. Okay, they're all fairly uniform, as you can see. All right. So going from left to right, the eyes are, whoops, virtually in the same position on all of them. Okay, they're almost like a little school of fish, aren't they? Okay, and then that way, what we do is, yeah, that's right, mate. So these are designed to copy the mullets that are in our estuarine waterways, okay? Now, the reason why we have the eyes is they'll ride hook up. I can cast these at snags, right? And then when I cast them at snags, the good thing about these flies because they ride hook up, I can actually cast this over a snag and retrieve this over the snag without the hook getting stuck in the snag. So suddenly you've put yourself in the strike zone where the bigger fish are. And it's like when you go brim fishing, you know, you'll be paddling along or, you know, motoring along in the boat and you'll see a snag. They certainly are, Detless Pig. These are lead eyes that have been painted. So basically what that does, right, normally when you have a hook without any weight on it, it usually always drops that way first because that's where the bend is, okay? When you put the eyes on here, what it does, you cast it, it'll flip over, right? And then what this does, see the shape of the head on this fly? What this does is this allows water to flow over the head of the fly and direct the water over the eyes. So when you fish this with a loop, it gives it an action in the water. It'll actually wiggle. So I can put the eyes on this fly in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different spots to get this fly to do 8 different things. That's one thing that you can't do with lure fishing. Okay, so yeah, these are good. I mean, if we get those beautiful, shiny, sunny days and we're casting at a snag in a waterway, right, they'll basically be able to, they'll basically be able to ride hook up. The fish will see them and hopefully come out of the snag. Now, we're going to fish that with an 8 weight. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do something totally different now, right? What I want to do now is I want to tie some epoxy flies, right? So with the epoxy flies, what we want to do is we want to virtually end up with this, okay? And then I've already tied some of these to copy these. Now this is another one that I tied to copy that. Right, see that? We did that live on stream as well. Okay, that's the West Australian hardy head that's in the freshwater rivers down here. That's the fly that I tied to copy it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to tie some other little flies. Now these are little size 6 patterns. I'm just going to coat these in epoxy later on, but I need some size 1s like this because we're going that far north next week. I should have a chance to catch some mangrove jack. I'd love to be able to catch a mangrove jack on fly, you know? That would be awesome. So this is the problem with these spools, right? When these spools get to the end like this, right, they very rarely sort of stay. So you'll always lose that last, I don't know, metre out of the 100 metres, you know? And look, what I'll do is with your spools and that sort of stuff, okay, the colour of the thread that you use, right, is quite important. So here we've got some grey, right? There's 100 yards of flat wax nylon in the grey. So if I put head cement on that, it still stays grey. Oops! But when I use the flat wax nylon like these, right, basically what happens is it goes translucent. So what you can do is you can tie your flies, right, with various materials, and then when you put epoxy on the fly, what will happen is this becomes transparent, so the actual fly looks like it's a real creature because you can actually see into the very middle of the fly, much like most fish. Oh, that's not good. Oh, it's a bit of head cement on there, jeepers. Don't want that. That's why that's not going through. Hang on. Let's sort this out. Might have to get a new one, I think. And look, if you're thinking of getting into fly tying, right, don't make the mistake of thinking that you need to spend massive dollars, right, to get, you know, good quality gear and that sort of stuff. I mean, you know, there is a little bit of merit to that, but if you shop around, you know, like I said to people in the stream before, my standard fly tying vise was a G clamp, right, with a vice grip mounted on the end. Tied hundreds of flies, right? You can get away with that for about 60 bucks. Yeah, let's push that down in there. Just excuse me for a second. I've had to just ad lib a little bit, if you know what I mean. Come on, get in there. And what we'll be doing next week, people. Okay, next week we will be live streaming to both YouTube and also Twitch. Right, so make sure you let everyone know about the live streams, and where we're fishing, okay, is well and truly going to be worth the trip. So why is that not working? There we are, beautiful. All right, awesome. Yeah, we got a bit of head cement on there, which is not doing anyone any favours. Right, so what I want to do now, right, is I want to tie a fly that's known as a surf candy. Another one of Mr. Popovich's creations. As I've always said, you must give credit where it's due to the people that lay the foundations for the future of fly fishing. With their fly patterns, I've seen so many flies that have come up that are just reinventing the wheel. It's a little bit sort of, I find it quite disrespectful, because all the people are doing is trying to put their stamp on things, which is not how it works, right? So let me show you how easy it is to tie this fly. So I have an old saying, right? Flies are only as good as the bed of thread that you tie them on, okay? And a lot of fly ties that tie mass production, right, don't do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back from the eye about here, right? That's our furthest most point here, okay? So see that? What we've done is we've got a beautiful bed of thread, and what we're going to do is we're going to seal this. Now, pay special attention to this. Watch what happens when I get this white flat wax nylon and I wet it with some head cement. See how it goes translucent and the colour of the hook comes through, look. See that? Now, we need to use this to our advantage. I'll show you how to do this, okay? And what we'll do first, right, is see how we've had our little pearl here. What we're going to do is, okay, I'm going to tie this virtually so it's like a block. All right, some people, when they tie these flies, they'll tie them here with the material out the front. Then they'll fold them over and tie them off and all the rest of it. We're not going to worry about that. Now, I should get enough material out of here, right, for 2 flies. Right there, great. Got to remember too, debtless pig. And this is what a lot of even fishing streamers don't get. You can't fake knowledge, but right. So what I've done there is, see how I've just tied that in? Great. All right, I'm not even going to bother to tie that off at the head because I don't need to. What's going to happen is we're going to create what's known as a blank. Right, so, oh, whoops, that one's a blank, all right. I didn't give it time to set the head cement and I ripped it off. Whoops. That head cement is getting a little bit on a bit, so let's do that again. All right, back through here. Come on, bud. Let's go again. Right, like that. We just want all of this, oops, on top of the hook. Just want all of this on top of the hook like that. Classic Hank, how are you, bud? Welcome to the stream, mate. Thanks for giving up your time to come in and watch. Right, there we go. That's a bit better. Yeah, they're going to look at the stream and go, this bloke's a bit of an amateur, Hank. What do you reckon? Right, so we've got our little flashy material, and what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to give this a bit of time, right, to, there we go. Now, once I've done that, what I want to do is I want to get this super hair, right? So this is basically the same pattern as before, but we're doing a different profile, right? So this is going to be a layered fly. That's probably a little bit too much. Hang on. Let's go a little bit thinner. Yeah, we don't need to use too much material. Oh, that is the bottom. I'll show you. So let's go there. Right, once again, we'll just bring that in here like so. Right. Yeah, so this is called a surf candy. This is one of the initial Popovich flies that he invented to design to copy a lot of the bait fish in the States, and boy, did he do a good job of that. Right. So what we want to do is we just want to leave that like a block at the front. Oh, that's all right, mate. That always falls off, Deathless Pig. I'll show you what we're trying to do in a second, right? So I'm going to tease that off. Great. That's because of my muck up, mate. What I did is I didn't let the head cement set. Right. There we are. And usually when you do this, right, you've got to give it enough time to set, as I'm saying. Now, right. And you do 2 layers of epoxy, not 1. I'll show you that in a second. Right, there we are. That's good. Okay, oops, don't do that. Don't be doing that, come on. Now see how this head virtually looks like a block? Like it's got a helmet on it? That's all right. Right. Okay, so we've got the crystal flash, we've got the pearl flash, we've got the white super hair. Now what I'm going to do is this. I want to get some of this grey material. Okay. Right, I'm just combing this. Probably not the right person to comb anything as I don't have any hair, but that's okay. Right, now see how I'm making this a fairly slim profile? Right, I'm just going to measure that. In we go there. Hey, come on, bud. So what we've got here is we've got a virtual block, okay? Now, that's not going to be the final fly, right? So this is here for a reason. One of the best inventions for fly tying is pearl mylar. I'll show you what I mean by that. So see that? That's the blank, right? So that's basically the profile of the fly that we're going to make. And with that too, right, it imitates quite a few different fish. That could pass for this little hardy head, and as well as the hardy head, it could probably pass for the mullet as well. So what we're going to do here is, I've got some material here. Now because I'm trying to imitate the mullet, what I want to do is, right, I want to keep it fairly silver. I don't want to keep it too gold in colour. Now, let me show you something. We'll chuck that over there. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to go like that. Just going to go like that for now. Right, leave that here. What I want to do is this. Okay, just want to get some more of this like that. Like that, okay. That's going to become translucent. Now, see this here? I'm just going to open that on the scissors. Righto, bud, in you go. Do your thing. There we are, come on. So what this is going to do, this is going to keep all the material. Is that the wrong way on, or what is going on with that? There we are, that might be a bit better. So what I've done here is, this is like a mylar, right? Now this, when you're tying these sorts of fly patterns, is your best friend. I'll show you why in a second. If I can actually get a bit more of this on here. Come on, bud. Well, that's going to have to do for now, isn't it? So see that there? That's basically on now. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to go like that. Right, bring that in a bit. What I need to do... Connor AC, how are you, mate? Welcome to the stream, bud. Thank you very much for coming in and watching the stream. Right, no, come on. Yes, rightio. Here we go. Now see how we've got these little fibres of mylar at the front, right? Bring that in there. Okay, now bring that in here, like so, and bring that in there. Now people, I didn't invent these flies. Like I said, these are the Klaus amino derivatives with the lead eyes. This is a surf candy which was invented by Mr. Popovich. Okay, you must give credit to the original authors. All right, now see that there? All right, what that's going to do is that's going to allow me to maintain a baitfish profile. And then with the baitfish profile, what I'm going to do is, right, just give me that for a second. Actually, we can do it like that. Here's a little trick. Just got to be careful not to sort of give it too much. Great, so that's burnt all the fibres off it. Okay, so watch this now. Have I got enough to mix that? I should do. Excuse me for a second. I've just got to go and get the taste of head cement out of my mouth. Never gets any better. Right. So, what I'm going to do is this. This is going to be our mixing tool, right? How's your day going, Connor? Whereabouts do you fish, mate? Do you fly fish yourself or? All right, so what I want to do is, I find Araldite to be the best product. Okay, come on bud, get out there. No, this one's stuck for some reason. It's going to be a bit of a pain. Hang on a second. All right, that's much better. Now what I'm going to do, people, right, is I'm going to show you how this fly comes alive, right? Right, let me show you how this fly comes alive. Now the good thing about using clear head cement is exactly that, it's clear. Oh, excellent, Connor. Ontario, Canada. Canada has some of the best fly fishing and some of the best fly fishers in the world, bud. So, all right, so watch this. What I'm going to do is I'm hoping that I've got a 50-50 mix on here. Right, so what I've got is I'm just going to mix some epoxy now. Whatever you do, Connor, just always stay within your budget, bud. Don't get sucked into spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You don't need to, mate. All right, so see this here? Right. This is going to be the start of our little thingy. So see this? What we're going to do is this now. We're just going to get a little bit of epoxy and put it around the top like so. I'm going to try and show you how to do this. Right. And then what we're going to do is this. We're just going to work our way down the fly like that. Right. Trying to keep that in the field of vision at all times. Right, let's keep that in there, keep that in there. Right, so what we want to do, and you got to remember on these days where it's really cold, right, it's very hard to, you know, very hard to keep everything working smoothly. What I want to do, now you can use UV lights and, you know, all this other material, but there's not too much skill in that for me. Right, so this is what we want to do. We want this, okay, to just thin out down the side of this material here like that. Okay, so that's what we want it to do. So what we'll do is we'll just spread that out a bit thinner like that. Okay, and what I want to do, okay, we just want that to go over the material like that. Then once we've got that going flat, we can just bed that into the material there, like so. And what we have is we have a beautiful little epoxy pattern that's formed. See that? So with this, what I'm doing is I want that to sit on the hook as well. Right. So let's bring that down like that. I want it to go fairly flat. Come on, bud. Now you've got to remember, when you use the epoxy and that sort of thing too, what it does is it also creates a bit of heat, right? And when it creates a bit of heat, that's when you can have a bit of grief. But ideally what you want to do is just get your epoxy on the hook shank as well. Now I can feel the heat in that already, right? Okay. So what we're doing is, see that there? Right, that's a beautiful little slim profile mylar fly like that. Right, so this is only the first half of it. What we need to do now is I need to paint some eyes on there. Right, and then once I've painted the eyes on there, then I do another coating of epoxy over the top. And what that'll do, right, is by right, I should have actually wound some thread around that, but I wanted to make this a little bit chunkier in the middle, just so it gave off a little bit more bubbles. But see how the epoxy has dried clear, and what's happened is it's provided the flash and also the scale type pattern on the front. See how that's come alive? Right, so what'll happen is, once that dries as it's doing now, right, it'll just keep everything together like that. Okay. There we are. Nice. Okay. And that's just a very, very basic surf candy. Now, as I've said, okay, I still need to put eyes on this, but what this is just one step away or two steps away from being finished now. Okay, so keep the eye clear like we're doing with the hook there. Now look at the colour in that. Look at that for a beautiful colour. Look, see how that's come alive? Look, you've got the beautiful silver like finish and that sort of stuff. And that's basically what we've done. What we've done here, right, is we've just got, oh, you probably couldn't see it there anyway. That didn't really help, did it? Hang on, let me just zoom in again for you, okay? Sorry about that, people. When you zoom in a lot like we have on these flies, it's very hard to get it focused. Right, so if we bring this in here, oh, that's at the full limit. Right, see that there? See that, what that's done at the front there? See in here, right, we'll see in here, right in there at the front there, what it's basically done is we've got the little bit of fibre sort of hanging off there, but that's okay. So what we've done, that's virtually come alive. Right, that looks the shiny part of the head and also the gills and all that sort of thing, and the rest of the body's the fish. And when it comes up the back there, it's usually because that's going to imitate the tail and all that sort of stuff, you know. So that's pretty good. Let's just leave that like that. And look, this is a really basic surf candy. What we'll do now is, wonder if I've got any of my eyes anywhere. Just excuse me for a second, people. I'm just going to risk life and limb in here. Right, there we go. Okay, that's the yellow one. I need the grey one. Where's the grey one? Getting old. Excuse me for a second. Here it is. Dun da da. Ba ba da ba. Haha, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Right. Hey Phil, how are you, bud? How's life treating you, mate? Okay. Yeah. No, vintage usually means you're famous, mate, and I'm nowhere near that stage, nor do I want to be. There we are. Whopsha. No. Wrong eyes. People, I just got to find the eyes that I use. Okay, so that's all the feathers. It's good that we found the feathers, but we're not looking for feathers. Where would you go? Why would you do that to me? Yeah, oh, like I said, Phil, I don't know what to say, mate. You know, I don't want to be one of these people that sounds like, you know, they know what you're going through, mate, because I don't. But I just hope that it improves for you, if you know where I'm coming from. So. Hang on a second, people. Let me just see if I can find these. And with your like materials and that, you got thousands of different materials. What you just try and do is just try and match up, you know, what you're using to what you're trying to imitate, if you know what I mean. Oh, you're welcome, mate. I'll take my hat off to you, Phil, you know. Excuse me for a second. It's the same old story. I've got everything in one of the boxes here. Yeah, look, I have done, mate. I've caught lots and lots of fish on these styles of fly, bud, but you know, it still doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to catch fish. You can sit here and have all the best laid out plans and all that sort of stuff, you know. All right, here we go. That's where they were. and then you still don't sort of like do anything. And other days, you know, you can just pick everything up, go out there and you catch fish after fish after fish without even trying, you know. Would like to have one of those days, but... Alright, so let me finish this fly for you. So that way we can actually finish something, okay? So let me grab that. Check this out. What we're going to do is we're going to make this fly come alive. Now, for everyone that's watching, right, if you're thinking of taking up fly fishing and fly tying, I hope you know what you're getting yourself into. No, I'm kidding. Right, so there's the first eye. Right, and like I said, you do this when it's tacky, so that way it'll actually stick to what you're trying to do. Okay, so that's the first eye. And then what we do is we try and put the second eye there. Let me just have a look at that. That's a little bit high up. Let's bring that down. Okay, so what we've got now is we have a fly that we can finish, right? Which is always, as a rule of thumb, what you're generally aiming to do. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll finish the fly. Now this is the tough part, because what you've got, right, is you're going to put more fresh epoxy underneath epoxy that's trying to dry in the first place. So you're going to have two different consistencies, right, and you're going to have two different heats, right? So with that, the same old story. You'll never know. Near Yanchep Lagoon, oh, nice one, bud. Yeah, good on you, mate. We're hoping to leave here by 4 AM on Saturday, Phil, on our big trip up north, bud. Great. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to try and finish this fly. And I'm going to show you exactly what you can achieve, a little bit of imagination and a little bit of nous, you know. Right. So once again, we're just going to mix some of this wonderful 5-minute Loctite epoxy. Okay. Just going to give it a second to let all the colours, Yeah, of course I am, Deadless Pig. We're going to stream the whole lot, bud. We're going to go hardcore next week with the streaming, mate. Right. So now see this with the eyes and that? Great. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to get that on there. Get that on there. What we're going to do is just give this a really generous coating, right, to really seal this. This virtually makes your flies, well, not bulletproof, because there's nothing that will sort of survive a tailor biting it, if you know what I mean. Right. So what we want to do is, okay, we just want to get that around there, get that around there, like so. Right. There we are. Get that under there. Just get that nice and even. You know what I mean? Beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're just going to let this form now, right? I've coated this with the epoxy. I want this to actually form. Now watch the head of this fly. What the epoxy is going to do is it's going to run down here, right? And it's going to make a little bit of a bobble, right, on the head of the fly about there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a little bit more epoxy right there. What we want to do is we want that to end up a little bit rounder. See how that's starting to form now? Just got to be very careful with the heat. That's all. Right. So now what we'll do is we'll just turn that back down like that. Gravity's your friend and gravity's also your enemy when you tie these flies, people. Okay. You've got to remember, like I said, you've got two different phases of material, right? The one underneath's hot, which causes the one on the top to sort of, you know, cure a little bit quicker. I want to keep a nice rounded head on this like the natural. Okay, good. Now that should drop down. And I just want to give it a little bit of a belly. Much like the, you know, the naturals that you see in the waterways. Right. Wait. Okay, great. So what we've got now is, and the good thing about this is when we finish doing this, people, it should actually look as though it's got scales as well, and I'll show you that, what I mean by that, right? So this is a saltwater fly. Okay, like I said, it's called a surf candy. It was invented by Bob Popovich, one of the godfathers of fly fishing, if you want to call it that. Okay, and all right, that should be fairly close. Now, show the difference in this fly. Right, now that we've tied it, give it a little bit of a belly, as you see. Right, and that should be good to go. Ta-da! There we go. We've made it come alive. See? Look at that. What do you reckon? There we go. Do you reckon that's come alive or what? A little bit of a belly here, but nothing that we can't fix. Ta-da. All right, and if you have a look at it, oh, that's, see, this is the problem. I've still got epoxy running down here. I thought it had dried by now. Hang on. I used to have a little compressor that I used to use for this. A lot of people say, why don't you use the special stuff with all the UV? No, thanks. I'll just use it like that. All right. All right, now. Nah, mate, you've got to let it just, you've just got to let it take its natural course, Stetless Pig. Right. Because you've got epoxy underneath it that's still hot. Right. All right, there we go. So, check that out. See how you can literally see the scales on that as well? Look at that. See, you can see the scales on that in there. Look, with the mylar that we were using. Let's see if we can get that down far enough. Let's bring that down so you can see it. Oi, don't be doing that. And that. See how that's come alive? I just can't get it right. Hang on. Oh, No, no, no. Epoxy everywhere. It's part of the fun, really. Right. Yeah. It doesn't help, does it? But see that? Actually, what I should do is this. That's probably a better idea, I think. That's actually going to be a better idea. Let's just leave it like that. What that'll do is that'll start getting the epoxy the other way now. You're like, oh, get off there. And see how that's come alive? It looks like a little glass minnow. Let's bring this right up close now and see if that helps. That's how we're going to have to do it, I think. Let's have a look. Alright, let me just get this back here a bit. Alright, there we go, people. What do you reckon about that for a little bit of detail? So what I'm doing is I'm just letting this dive underneath there. Now see how we've captured all the colours there? And all we've done is just use the little materials. So what it is, as you can see in here, we've got the mylar underneath, the pearl flash. Then we've got the mylar over the top. And what it does, it actually gives it an almost lifelike appearance. So the hardest thing, look, a lot of people say, yeah, you should use that material, you know, that you can use the UV on, but that's got a different type of finish to it, to epoxy. Epoxy, you know, you can make it look different on the fly pattern, okay, compared to, you know, how you want it to work and that sort of stuff. So, I mean, if we now turn this over the other way, like that, right, and bring that in there. See how we've got fantastic colour and form in that fly? Look. All right, look at that. See that? A little bit of a belly there, but that's all right. We don't worry about that. So see, what we've done is we've managed to preserve it. Okay. And if I wanted to, I could put lead eyes on that here, right? Cover it with epoxy and fish it like a Klaus minnow there. But as you can see, the detail on that's pretty good. The devil's in the detail, as they say. So there we go, people. That's our little fly tying stream for today. All right. Oh, that's exactly right, Deathless Pig. It has got the shimmer. And, you know, that's all we're trying to achieve, bud. And we'll get about, I don't know, 8 of those for this trip when we go up north. And away we go. So, ta-da! Hey, look, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm going to sign out now. I've got a heap of work to do today. I really appreciate the fact they are Deathless Pig, but what I've got here, that's why you put the epoxy on it, because with the epoxy on it, it actually protects the fly, and you'll get more fish out of it, if that makes sense. So with this material here, this is actually quite tough. It's plastic, right? I've had a fly like this been hit that many times by fish that all the material out the back looked like a pom-pom, looked like it was a pom-pom on top of it, right? So, you know, it just depends on what you catch with it. But with that there, I mean, you know, our main target are mangrove jack and mulloway, and they'll smash that. They'll absolutely smash that. They won't even take a second look at that fly, okay? All right, people. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm going to sign out. I'll see you all tomorrow. And, or maybe even tonight, we'll just work from there. Bye for now.